So, welcome to another episode of our show. It's called the Ant and Jer Show, and it's brought to you by BeTheLimitlessYou. And me and Jer act as accountability partners for each other. And what we do is we discuss ideas, we listen to the same recording every day, and we report back to each other every day on WhatsApp voice note. And we just basically talk about what stuck out for us that particular day. And we found that through this approach of viewing the same situation from different angles has accelerated our learning through this diverse perspectives. So we want to share this video with you and this show because we feel it's helped us so much. It can also help you. And also, you're probably going to see things from a different perspective to us too. So it's a win-win-win. Everyone's learning, and that's what we want to do. So this week, it's my turn to bring an idea to the table. So, like I say, we're listening to the same recording every single day, and it's by Earl Nightingale because me and Joe made the decision to study the art of making decisions because there's a lot more to it than we've heard the words, but we don't necessarily know what it means. And me and Joe realized that by listening to this, there is a lot to learn on decisions. So Joe hasn't seen the idea yet, so this is going to be fun. We're just going to put it up on the screen now. This is the point of the show, basically. So here's what stuck out for me today. So it's this quote by Earl Nightingale. We often think of ourselves as bold decision makers, but the facts seem to indicate that we're not.
Ooh.
Now, when you look at this at face value, you think that this is pretty simple. There's not a lot in this, but there is because you might think to yourself straight away, I'm making loads of decisions every single day. How can I not be a bold decision maker? So where are the facts that indicate that we're not? And this is what makes it so interesting because it really makes you self-reflect. So I'm thinking straight away, I'm making loads of decisions every day. The facts seem to indicate that we're not. What is he talking about? And because me and Joe have listened to this for so many times, I think we're on day like 40 or something like that.
Yeah.
We know that there's a big difference from making small decisions compared with making the big decisions that bring you face to face with the best possible life for you. And those big decisions are in the form of if you want to quit your job to start that business, then you make that decision. If you want to buy that investment property or your first house and you haven't got the money, but you make the decision to buy it. And then that way it takes on a whole different meaning in your mind and you start attracting the money or whatever it is, the resources that you need to make that happen. So that's the way I'm seeing this. What are you thinking about this one, Joe?
Yeah, it's a really good spot today, mate. Um, yeah, so we do listen to Earl Nightingale's 15 minutes decision. It's a YouTube clip and you can get it on YouTube. And it's the repetition of listening to the same audio clip that's the power is in the repetition. That's how our mind learns. That's how we see things differently. So we've read this many times. And I've heard this phrase many times, but we haven't picked this phrase out before. We often think ourselves as bold decision makers, but the facts seem to indicate we're not. I see it as the facts we often think of ourselves as bold decision makers. So we basically think that we make proper bold decisions, like we think we do. And we often think, so that to me is like, we often think, oh, well, I've made the decision, to buy my house. I've made these big, bold decisions, but the facts seem to indicate that we're not. And I think he means that we're all just copycats. I think he means that the facts are that we kind of touched on this before a little bit, that I bought a new car because my neighbor had a really nice car. And I looked at his car and went, and then I looked at my car and went, oh, mine's shit. He's got a nice red car. I want to buy that red car. So whose decision is that? The facts seem to indicate that we're not. So am I buying the new car because I want a new car? Or am I buying the car because I seen my neighbor driving a really nice new red car? And then I went, oh. And then my wife saw and she went, look, like Jim up the road's got a lovely car. Like I'm embarrassed driving in our car now. Look at this piece of shit. And then that influences our decision. So is that my decision to buy the new car? No, it's not. It's the decision because someone else, if that my neighbor, Jim, so to speak, had never bought the car, would I have bought a new car in that year or the next year? So am I living by my decisions or by the decisions of other people? And now did Jim buy a new car because he saw another new car? And you know what I mean? This is what it's called. I call it the copycat. Everybody copies kind of everybody. So we think we make decisions, but the facts seem to indicate we do not. Where do trends come from? And fashion. We all, the 80s had a certain fashion. Everybody wore the same clothes. In the 70s, the 90s, the 2000s, we all had fashions. We all seem to trend because it's a society we don't want to be the odd one out. We want to fit in. And if all our friends have got really nice new kitchens and they're doing a certain thing, whatever it is, then 9 times out of 10, we're going to kind of copy that because they're doing it. Yeah, the facts seem to indicate we're not. So people aren't making decisions based on their own thinking. And that is what Earl is getting at. They're not making bold, they're not bold decision makers because they're not doing their own thinking. They're not acquiring the knowledge themselves and going, well, look, Jim's got a nice red car, but actually our car is fine. It gets me to A to B, and I maybe not in a financial position to buy a car right now. So I don't have to go borrow the money for it. I'll save another 2 or 3 years and buy it. That's my decision, working on my own logic and my own information. Not because he's got one, so I'll go get one. And I think that's what he means. The facts seem to indicate we're not, and the facts seem to be that everybody seems to copy everybody and don't make decisions for themselves. That's my take on it. What do you think
Yeah,
on that?
yeah, for sure, for sure. And this is great because I come up with one thing I was talking about. I felt that it meant not making the big decisions that bring you face to face with the best possible life for you. And you've come up with something completely different with the copycat thing. And like we say every time on the show, you're right and I'm right.
We're
Because
both
more
right,
than
yeah.
one person can be right when we're looking at this. It's not a case of right and wrong, it's a case of how you see things. That's one of the higher faculties of our mind that allows us to see things from different angles, our perception. And it's from this perception that we create our world, basically, because that's how we form our beliefs. So that's a great insight to what you said.
Yeah, I've just thought of another one actually. Another way of looking at it would be we often think of ourselves as bold decision makers. So we think we're bold decision makers because we think we've made some big decisions in our life, which we have. So, a big decision I've made maybe was I went traveling for a number of years. Big decision was I got married. Big decision was to have children and buy a house. So we often think of ourselves as big, this bold decision makers, but everybody makes those decisions.
Yeah.
Everybody makes those decisions. Now, in our life, we go, wow, that's a big decision. But actually, it's the same. I think a, a bold decision is going against the grain, is not doing what everybody else is doing. I think that's a bold decision to go, actually, if they're all doing X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do A, B, and C
Mm.
and be true authentically to myself.
I think
That's
it,
another way of looking at it. We think we make big decisions, but really, are they big decisions? Everybody gets married. Everybody buys a house.
yeah. So
You know what I mean?
it comes down again to knowing yourself and making that decision about your future and your vision and what you actually want. So when
Yeah,
just because someone buys a car doesn't mean you have to buy a different car, for example, but it comes down to going within and like using your own imagination and thinking, what do I actually want? Am I playing like, just copycat trying to keep up with the Joneses, or do I actually want a car? And if I do, like, what kind of car? It doesn't
what
have to be the
kind?
same as that nice car that you may have seen. Using the car as an example, we can use many different things. So again, it comes down to knowing yourself and knowing your vision. Because if you know your vision is something that you've created, and then all of your other decisions are going to line up with that vision, which basically is a bigger decision, isn't it?
Massive decision. Yeah,
The vision is the big decision, and all of the little decisions, all you've got to ask yourself is, does this decision line up with my vision?
yeah. And this is the beauty about decisions because I never, again, I think I've said this in every single video. I didn't realize how important the word decision actually is. Um, and decision is so important because yes, we're on about a life goals and you know a plan, a worthy ideal. That's a big decision to work towards what we want our lives to be, but that requires thinking. Now, not thinking that I want to go down to the shop and buy some milk and bread. I mean, really thinking about what you want in your life and what you want to become in your life. And is the life you have now serving you? And are you the person you want to be? And that requires a lot of really inward thinking about yourself. And then you can make a decision. So decision is very important, but also it is very linked with thinking, which I never really realized until like properly studied it, that like it's so important that to make a life decision about what you want to be and become, you have to think about it and think about it in depth on your own in a quiet place. Maybe close your eyes for 5 minutes and just use your imagination. And then, some thoughts will pop into your head, and then you can, yeah, try and think about what you want for your life. And then you can make decisions. If you've got an idea where you want to go in life and what you want to do, then you can make decisions towards that. You could write your plan down on a piece of paper, and then you've got a little roadmap. But decisions become very important then, because then you're going, is this decision bringing to me towards where I want to be? Or is this decision, I'm just copying other people and he's copying the next person and he's copying the next person. And then one day we all hope that we all got it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's thinking is very important about making decisions.
And just to
So
mention here that this is one sort of sentence from a 15-minute
yeah,
audio of Earl Nightingale talking. And what he's getting at with the overall decision is to be an autonomous person. And this is something that we had to study as well, because autonomy to me meant online marketing systems and selling systems. And I remember talking to Joe about it. So I
I
don't
didn't
know
know
what
what
he
it was.
means. Like, and Joe didn't know what he means. And then eventually, after listening to it over and over again, we started to come to the conclusion that an autonomous person can literally say yes, no, as decisions are coming in, rather than procrastinating. So it's getting rid of the procrastination. And we've been practicing this ourselves, and we both found that our heads are so much clearer. And he also says in there that autonomy does not frighten a winner. And in the past, I can speak for myself, I wasn't making decisions through probably fear of getting it wrong, just in case there was a risk there. But now I make decisions, most of my decisions on autonomy, it is a practice. I I I'm not scared at all. I'm happy to back it. But the action of actually doing it is completely, it is a game changer, isn't it? You've got your energy into that decision, and it's almost a form of expression, really. I was always afraid of getting the decision wrong. But again, we're almost going through the whole clip now. But he says, like, a winner does not consider himself to always be right, but he's got the
Yeah,
courage to make the decision on the spot. And then they can reevaluate after and can adapt after because they're not scared. They have the courage and they have the belief that even if it is the wrong decision, they have the skills to be able to deal with it and turn it into the right one. I know you've mentioned, Joe, a couple of times you made some big decisions and you mentioned a couple before, and you actually said that you didn't know if it was the right decision, but you made it right. And that was almost a breakthrough that we had.
yeah. It's um it's not worrying about it's not worrying about getting it wrong anymore. Um, if the decision you just got to make it quickly, and you got to create a habit of making quickly, because the most successful people make decisions quickly and change them very rarely. And that's a trait. That's a really good habit. And we found when we started making the autonomy decisions, the things just flowed a little bit better. Um, People just acted acted quickly more on the decision that I have made. And also it stops procrastination. Um, because I made a decision with my Amazon business to employ a PPC campaign agency to work with me. And if that was me going back, I would say even 3 to 4 months before we started our, I would say, upped our intense personal development and got accountability buddy, I would have procrastinated on that because I just put an order in for large stock, which would cost a lot of money, and this costs a lot of money, and I probably would have procrastinated on it, and I probably would have missed the window of opportunity, and I wouldn't be where I am now. I've moved my business on. I made a decision. I had a 20-minute sales pitch to guy, so I mean, in about 15 minutes, I just made the decision. I said, yes, let's go for it. I think I shocked the guy. And that is what we are using. We watched a video, we watched a 15-minute clip from Earl Nightingale's on decisions, and we are starting to put it into motion within our lives. And it has moved my business forward. It's moved both of my businesses forward. And that is the key. There's two things to take of that is learning the knowledge of how important decision making is and actually using the knowledge in day-to-day life. So this process we're actually doing is actually helping us. It is actually moving us forward. We're not just two guys reading a load of stuff and having a conversation. We're doing the work and we're doing what we're saying in real life and moving our businesses forward. And that is, I've created time now. I've dedicated something in my business and I've created time to work on other parts of my business, which is going to move me forward again. So that autonomy decision, I didn't procrastinate, which I probably would have took a month to make that decision because it's a lot of money and you sit there and you go, oh, will I, won't I, is it a scam? Are they any good? Are they just another YouTube like idiot that thinks he's going to make you a millionaire in 7 days type spastic? No, but I made a quick decision and it's moved me forward. Autonomy does not frighten a winner. Is it the right decision yet? I don't know yet. Is it a wrong decision? I don't know, but it's been made and it's done and it's out of here.
Your
and
head's
I'm moving forward,
clearer, isn't it?
you know?
Your head's clearer, and this was in this particular instance, you weren't an expert at PPC yet, and you were doing all of the
Oh,
research online. You weren't making the gains, and then you decided
no.
to find someone who's already done it and pay the expert, and now you can concentrate on other parts of your business. And like you say, you don't know if it's the right decision yet, but the good thing with this marketing, your particular marketing strategy, you are going to get the numbers back on that, and you're going to be able to measure it to make the next decision, whether you re-employ them or you change it up again.
Yeah, and you learn from that. And that's the growth. It's growing all the time. And that's the time. If you keep doing that all the time, like you just gotta your progress is just gonna go so much quicker. Because like I'm working on different stuff now, which is leading me to make more autonomy decisions on other parts of the business, and it's just moving forward all the time, quickly, like a lot quicker. Like procrastination is like the killer of anything, of any good work. It is like a disease, and it comes, and it's in line with fear. Procrastination comes from fear, and that's why you stall. Is it like, and also procrastination comes from like potentially criticism from like um, family or relatives or in people in your social network. You go, oh, if I'm going to do this and I get it wrong, I might make a fool of myself. But this is why autonomy doesn't frighten a winner. You can make a decision, and if you get it wrong and you make yourself look like a fool or your business fails or something, and your friends and your family are going to go, ah, guys, that decision's mad. Don't do that. You have to be authentic to yourself. Make the decision quickly, and if it's right or wrong, doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. The criticism that if you're thinking about what other people think of you, then you're going to procrastinate, um, because you're going to be more worried about what they think, and that's not being true to yourself. That's not being authentic. So you're now not making decisions based on other people's opinions. That's their decision. So you're not a bold decision maker.
And if they're not getting the results, then why are we listening to these people? We've got 4 minutes left, by the way, so
That
we'll
went
have to
quick.
wrap this up pretty quick. Yeah, went really quick. But yeah, if you're listening to other people, they're making the decision, and if they're not getting the results that you want or you are getting, then why do we listen to them? We're so heavily influenced by the people in our small circles. There's the quote that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I thoroughly do believe that because you can
Yeah.
get very influenced by the people you're around. You pick up their energy, you sort of pick up little traits from them.
Their habits, yeah.
If you're in the minority, if you're a person who's going upwards, for example, and they're happy to be where they are, then you are naturally they're going to bring you down a little bit. So you've always got to get around people who are going to lift you up and inspire you and give you good energy.
Yeah, you want to be around people who are radiators, not drains. A
Yeah.
radiator gives off heat. It radiates. A drain just sucks the life out of you, and it's gone to waste.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. You got to be around people who like ready for your future as opposed to part of your past. So I was
Yeah,
thinking
and if you
of
have,
Brad Sugars as well. I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm just trying to think of it. But yeah, when you were saying about you made the decision, you don't know if it's a right one or a wrong one yet. Now, me and Joe both study Brad Sugars, one of the best business coaches in the world, and I've heard him stand on stage and he said a lot of people ask him, "How did you get so successful at business at such a young age?" And his answer was, "Because I made more mistakes than anyone else." Now, another way to say that is I made more decisions than anyone else. So it comes down to these decisions. He made a lot of wrong decisions. He made a lot of mistakes, but what came out of that? The learning and the right decisions. And it was
yeah,
all getting him to where he wanted to be. And that's where he is. So
pretty successful businessman.
yeah, he is. 90 seconds, Joe. Do you want to wrap it up?
Ah, you got me on the spot. Um, Yeah, 90 seconds. Basically, make decisions for yourself. Make decisions based on your thinking and your knowledge. A winner assesses the situation, takes on the information from everybody around, assesses it, but makes the decision on his own knowledge, on what he thinks and what you think. Don't make decisions because your mate's doing it. Make the decision on what you think. Make that business decision. Make that autonomy decision. And if it's right or wrong, you will still learn from it. And you won't be the same person after you made that decision because you grow, failure or success. There's always growth. There's always good in every situation.
100%.
Okay.
And just to end this, you're going to have an opinion as well, and we want to hear it. So put it in the comments because your idea could be the missing piece for someone else who reads the comment, and that's all good because everyone's helping each other. So we're going to wrap this episode up. We're sending one out every single week, so be sure to tune in next week. See you later.
Bye.